sense we're seeing a beginning of a sort of mini-MAGA wave?
And Starmer's wrapping his surrender of sovereignty, I think, under the language of unity.
This tells you the desperation the Labour Party are feeling right now. They've gone front and centre, tried to take out the man.
It's what Farage is saying, what he stands for. It's patriotism. It gives everything a meaning. He's still speaking for people who believe Great Britain is theirs.
Just weeks after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Nigel Farage has accused the PM of exposing him to the same horrific fate by branding him and millions of his supporters racists. Let's have a listen to what Farage said today.
Now, I don't normally worry about abuse being thrown at me. I've got kind of used to it over the course of the last few years. But to accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace.
Powerful stuff from the leader of Reform there. He was responding to what the Prime Minister Keir Starmer had said at his party's conference speech earlier in the day. He came out swinging.
I mean, think about it. When was the last time that you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like Britain, doesn't believe in Britain.
Now, Starmer carried on branding Reform's policies immoral and racist, but critics say the Labour leader has been hijacked by his party's hard left flank, drifting away from the voters of Middle England, who he needs the most, and people that are still rather concerned about migration. Now, still with me is Dr. Mendoza. And joining us is Hauman, the border and security immigration expert from the Heritage Foundation, to discuss. Dr. Mendoza, to you first. I mean, we discussed this at some length last night, but it feels to me like the Labour Party are making the same mistakes the Dems made, calling people trash, deplorables, Nazis, fascists, in a time when America is having a debate, about the success of that tactics for the Democrats from Hillary through to Harris. It didn't work. It did not stop Trump. And obviously in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, this discussion about political language and taking down the tone and maybe not calling everyone fascists, not very helpful. And it seems that they seem to be taking it and running with it, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think this tells you the desperation the Labour Party are feeling right now. They've gone front and centre, tried to take out the man, haven't they? Gone straight there.
Yeah.
They're ignoring the issue per se, trying to sort of get round that by saying, well, you're all racist, nothing to see here. So it is a disastrous tactic, though, because it hasn't worked. You're quite right to point out the American context. It didn't work in the US, and people then saw Donald Trump come in and actually solve the illegal migration problem. He came in and solved it. So it doesn't really hold water to be attacking someone like this. And again, to say that Nigel Farage hates Britain, that is a very strong...
Powerful charge from a man that's been campaigning on British sovereignty
Exactly.
for 30 years. Just on the America angles, again, watching that clip of Farage there, it did look to me like he's taking lessons from Donald Trump's book. He's speaking directly to the media. He's bypassing the networks. He's releasing his own clips. He's standing there. He comes onto his stages these days with pyrotechnics. He's trying to do these big rallies. It seems that both Labour and Reform are trying to take a leaf out of the US playbook. Do you think that's going to work for either of them?
Well, I think they're looking at success. They've seen how Donald Trump has been able to succeed in his policies and his politics, and they themselves are looking at that and going, you know what, we may as well try this. We've got to speak directly to people. That's one way of doing it.
Dr. Mendoza, stay there. Mr. Hauman, are you there? Border security and immigration expert from the Heritage Foundation. Thank you for joining us on Harry Kell Saves the West. Welcome. The politics of immigration, it couldn't be more toxic on both sides of the Atlantic. What are your thoughts on, the deplorable row, so to speak? Is it wise to brand...
Coincidental enough, I actually debated in Oxford on no human is illegal on stolen land in early June. And, what Nigel Farage brings up a good point and everything. We don't want to see another Charlie Kirk. Well, we've already saw enough rape gangs ravage British communities. Isn't that enough? When I brought those up in Oxford, there were jeers. The place went wild. They had to call order. People are ignoring reality. And what Nigel Farage is doing, he's not dividing Britain. Mass migration is dividing Britain. It's without limits that's like fractured the communities, caused harm. Again, the rape gangs that are ignored. It's strained public services. And you left a lot of citizens just feeling like strangers in their own land. So when Starmer accuses him of division, it really means that it's just him telling the truth offends the woke and the political class. Protect your nation, protect your people, protect your traditions. That's what it's about. It's not about rallies. It's what Farage is saying, what he stands for. It's patriotism. It gives everything a meaning. He's still speaking for people who believe Great Britain is theirs, not the globalist cabal.
When you were over in Oxford recently, what did you make of the mood? You know, there's a lot of talk now. You know, I'm going to do my favourite rant. They're spraying roundabouts. They're putting up flags. People are marching on the streets. People are fed up with this immigration row. They're fed up with being told to sit down, shut up, pay up, record taxes, open borders. Yep. Do you sense we're seeing a beginning of a sort of mini-MAGA wave? I don't know what my hand actions were there, but that's the mini-MAGA wave brewing in Britain.
Well, one of the, we only got a little glimpse, to say the least. You've seen how the nation has changed. And I feel like everybody, when you talk to a cab driver or something, they feel you out even before that they speak their honest opinion. But again, this video of our debate, I was with the Deputy Prime Minister of New Zealand and against some very far left folks. One of the things that was interesting is based on the response that our side had gotten, of course, we lost. But when you looked at that final breakdown of what side you walk out, if you're on the side of the House or the opponents, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it was in like 90 to 80 something or whatever. We were shocked. We stayed around and talked to people. The amount of students, though, that came up to us after saying thank you, nodding and everything, you're starting to see something that really mirrors what's happening here in the United States at a lot of colleges, where the youngest crowd makes me look like a squish when it comes to immigration. So it's like that was encouraging, but the voices that make themselves heard to try to drown you out, they kind of get inflated like their public opinion. They're not. Again, everybody needs to wake up, defend your homeland, defend the rule of law. It's okay. Inclusive patriotism is a hollow slogan. I mean, it's not, patriotism isn't about sprinkling your flag on policies that absolutely dilute your sovereignty, and simply the fact that somebody's waving it means all is well. Everybody has to act to the national interest, and Farage is, but there doesn't need to be another tragic moment to invoke outrage and a new path for a very proud nation to go down. It's the right thing to do, and it's encouraging to see. And then we're hopeful as well that the Trump administration and Republicans on Capitol Hill, mainly the latter, really wake up and deliver for voters. Tax cuts weren't the top priority. Trump was elected on securing the border and mass deportation. Got to deliver. You
took the words right out of my mouth. On policy, let's step back from the noise. Let's step back from the flag waving and the light of the party conference season. What would you be advising Keir Starmer to do to pull this back? Can he pull it back? Is it too late? It's a very different situation with the Channel compared to the English Channel compared to the US southern border. But these two leaders have been in power for a similar amount of time. One of them has driven migration down to essentially net zero, and one of them is facing record years. What would you personally advise Keir Starmer to do if he has any hope of stopping the boats?
Well, it's almost of doing a moratorium of sorts on entry into your country. And what we see over there, too, is just like what happened under Biden as well. I call it like a legal entry under the guise of legality. You're welcoming folks in under the guise of humanitarian concern. Hey, if you're going to take it from a humanitarian angle, worry about your own citizens who are getting raped, and you have a lot of public resources that are being strained. You're ignoring those who call your land home. That's not crazy. They need to absolutely wake up and repivot on the policy front. And hey, start having your police potentially be detailed as a national agent of sorts to be able to deport people, not apologize and go after the wrong ones. Start enforcing the law. Defend your culture. Defend the rule of law. and secure your border. Put your citizens first.
Mr. Hauman, stay there. Stay right there with your passionate pleas. Alan Mendoza still with me. Tom Rogan's still with me. We are, in fact, a cacophony of Brits in this.
British American.
British American, indeed. As a British American, Tom Rogan, what do you see? What do you look when you look back and see the old country?
Clearly, there is a populist shift towards Farage. I mean, the opinion polls represented. It's represented in the kind of populist display of flags.
Spraying the roundabouts. I keep trying to explain to Americans what roundabouts are, but
I also think Farage has been.
They don't have many of them.
No, they don't. The roundabouts can be a challenge sometimes. I think Farage has been clever in the sense, though, that he has, obviously put across this sort of hard-hitting version. Okay, we are going to clamp down on immigration. We're going to deal with the sort of post-Brexit EU regulatory restrictions that entailed there. I do also think it's important to remember, though, that when you're dealing with someone like Tommy Robinson, this is not a good guy, right? This is someone who attacks cops, who intimidate. It sounds like it's one of those stupid sort of peripheral comments, but it makes the point that a friend of mine in Cambridge, Muslim small business owner, very patriotic, very proud British, and obviously there are real issues in the English, Pakistani British community, but really good guy. His little sister was harassed by a gang that Tommy Robinson was marching through the city, and so we don't want that. It should be based on the rule of law. And I think Farage's, essential growth in the polls is just pushing that point. The Conservatives failed, rule of law, rule of law.
Dr. Mendoza, I thought what was fascinating in all of this is there's not even a single mention of the Conservative Party, the party, natural party of government, they call it. It is becoming a straight fight between Reform and Labour, and it is becoming a straight fight down on immigration. Do you think Labour have time to turn it around?
Well, let's put it this way. So Nigel Farage has made the music on immigration. The reason the UK strategy has changed in the last year has got nothing to do with Keir Starmer, it's got to do with Nigel Farage. And the reason the Conservatives aren't in the debate is because they have yet to show us anything on this subject, although we're here, it's coming this week. So they need to if they want to get back in the game, they've got to get back and hit hard and quickly and show people why they're different to Nigel Farage. Because otherwise, if you want full fat, you'll go with Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
And Keir Starmer is playing catch-up because he does not understand that you've got to change the whole rules-based system. Now, he is Mr. Rules, remember? He doesn't change the system. So how is he going to solve this? How is he going to get around this when he has to invert the whole legal system, which has been his life, to do that?
Mr. Hauman, you were nodding along there. What got your goat there?
Well, I just think you raised points on Tommy and things like that. But again, to put, the very idea that a sovereign nation must control its borders as putting a face on that at any time, again, I think it's just ridiculous. It doesn't matter who says it. It's the idea that must be embraced. We fall into a trap for the other side by making it a popularity contest. Immigration restriction will go long beyond President Trump here. He started it and everything. But kind of a last thought, too, is, I think, say what you want about Nigel Farage, but real patriotism, both here and across the pond, demands honesty. And, if you're saying that Britain cannot be both a sovereign nation and a transit lounge for the world, give up. I mean, and Starmer's wrapping his surrender of sovereignty, I think, under the language of unity. Farage is speaking to the people who haven't had their voice heard for a while. They still believe your land is theirs. And I don't give a crap of some of the people who are touting that same message. Both sides got fringes, okay? Analyze the idea. Fight for what's right. We're talking values and the rule of law. And I feel like most people are in a good corner with integrity. And we're going to start to see what we saw here. I think the people are going to make their voice heard.
Mr. Hauman, thank you. Gentlemen, final point in the studio. Labour have come out tonight and said Nigel Farage is being a snowflake. It's hurty words. Yeah, they called him a Nazi, called him a fascist, called everyone racist. But his suggestion that they're putting his life in physical danger is OTT. Dr. Mendoza, your 30-second thought on that. Has Farage overreacted, or is there a point that actually calling everyone racist does raise the temperature?
Well, this is extraordinary. Because under this Labour government, we're seeing people being arrested for stuff like this. So for Labour to suddenly say this is just hurty words, come on. The whole of the British people are worried about free speech and what they can say. This is just hypocrisy from Labour on this score. I think he is right to be worried.
Tom Rogan, 10 seconds, hurty words or snowflakes?
I think that was said perfectly by Alan. The free speech, for Starmer to, it's total hypocrisy.
Alrighty then. Right, after the break we will...